Hey guys, I'm Bobby Rio, this is Rob Judge, and we've got a very important video for you today because we want to get to the heart of the matter. Both of us have been coaching, dating, and attraction advice for about 7-8 years now. And one of the things that we always get from guys is, well, like, how do I make a girl really like me? How do I get her to fall in love with me? And what I want to challenge you to do right now as you're watching this is I want you and us together to reverse engineer this idea of getting someone to fall in love with you, because I think by doing that, you're going to get to see how it actually happens. And when you know how it happens, it's a lot easier to know what you need to do, what steps you need to take on the other person. So what I want you to think about right now is the last time that you really fell for a girl, like where you started to get obsessed with her, where you started like knowing like, oh shit, I think I'm in love with this girl, like I have feelings for her, and like you can't, what is it? Like what was the sign? Like when did you know? The sign that 90% of guys and 95% of women first realize that they're in love with someone is when they can't stop thinking about them. When they find themselves talking about them to their friends.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Bobby and I coach a lot of guys, and a lot of these guys, when they come into these coaching calls, they come into a coaching session, or even if they come on a live program, a lot of the times they're there because they're motivated by one girl. But it's one girl they can't get out of their mind. And to think about how much effort and how much just time and energy they're putting into that one girl, if they're coming on, they're coming to us to get coaching on that. And I'm sure, and again, I totally sympathize with those guys because I was there too. There have been girls, and I think love is a strong word. Some guys, I mean, again, we can define it however we want, but sometimes it's just this infatuation. We just want to know. We're just thinking about her all the time. You just find yourself constantly just, like the thought of her, just like you can't go on with your day unless you're thinking about her. Like every moment you're like checking your phone, you're slipping your name into conversations, even talking to people who didn't even, I remember like one time, like when I was like fully like infatuated with a girl, I was like crossing First Avenue next to some old lady, and I somehow ended up in a conversation talking about the girl I was infatuated with. It's amazing how their name and just the thought of them just slips into, it kind of permeates into your entire life.
Yeah, you know what it is the first ingredient of love, and this is very important to understand, is to create this psychic tension in the other person's mind. And what I mean by psychic tension is it's a tension so much that the only way to relieve it is to want to see the person, because you're thinking about them, you're talking about them, you're playing conversations in your mind, you're analyzing them, you're possibly on Google going, what did it mean when she, or you're on a dating forum going, she sent me this text, what do you think it means? Or like, that is psychic tension, and that's the first ingredient in love. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the kick in the balls. The kick in the balls is that most guys do everything to relieve that tension as quickly as possible in her mind. Because as a guy, our natural philosophy is, I need to let her know. I need to give her certainty. She needs to know how I feel. She needs to know that, like, this is real. And we do things like being super available, for instance. Like, we're afraid if she asks us to hang out, we're afraid to say, no, I can't hang out this weekend, because it's going to put doubt in her mind, right? We're afraid that if we don't text her back right away, it's going to put doubt in her mind. We're like afraid that if she says something we disagree with, we're afraid to go, that's not true, like, because it'll put doubt in her mind. But here's the kicker. That doubt is what she needs, because that doubt gives her things to think about. And this is a writer-downer. If you can get a girl thinking about you when you're not around, you can make her fall in love with you.
That is it's just such like wise words have never been spoken, because from like modern dating, that's the thing. It's that so much of love and infatuation and attraction happens when you're not even there. It's herself projecting an image. And again, I challenge you, think about a girl that maybe like you met her, you were just kind of like so on her, and then suddenly she did something, or there was some kind of uncertainty, or there's something you wanted to know more about her, and suddenly you could not stop thinking about this girl. I mean, I know myself, like there have been girls that when I first went on a couple dates with them, I was like, oh yeah, she's cool, she's alright. And then suddenly, because maybe she pulls back, and again, I've coached clients that have had girls do this to them, where suddenly they just encapsulate every thought in your mind, that you just cannot stop thinking about them, that that the amount of like mental space they occupy is just so astronomical, you can't help but fall in love with them.
Yeah, it's like you talk yourself into it, because like most people think love is like this cause and effect thing. Like I'm gonna show her, I'm gonna take her out to a really nice dinner. It's gonna convince her that I love her, right? And then she's gonna fall in love with me because we're gonna be together. It's gonna be this romantic encounter. But where love occurs is when she's not with you, when she's at home replaying events, right? But the problem, like I said, is that most nice guys don't give her anything to replay. They give her this certainty. So she goes home, right? And now her attention, she's got nothing to think. She's had a really good date. But then some other guy comes along, and he's a mystery. He's a challenge. And now her attention goes to him. And you've got none of her attention. And you've probably been there. Have you ever gone on a date, right? And it was like the most amazing date in the world. You're like, oh, we connected, and this and that. And I just know she's the one. And she has to feel the same way because she was laughing at all my jokes. And we were making plans to hang out in the future. And then you text her, and a day goes by, 2 days go by, and then like that moment hits you in the stomach where you're like, what the hell? She's not responding. What went wrong, right? And I can tell you what went wrong, and it's that she had nothing to think about. Like me and before we filmed this video, we were talking, and it's like the movie, the ending to the movie was already revealed. She knew the ending to the movie. She knew what was going to happen next. And when a girl knows what happens next, she's got no motivation to continue watching the movie.
I just have to like interrupt you for a moment, because I just have to tell a quick story. When I was like going out and meeting girls in Manhattan and kind of just doing this casual dating, it was crazy because I had a lot of dates that I thought went perfectly. When I went home, I was like, yes, got this in the bag. This girl really seems to like me. We had a great time. And when I went to go text them, it was like crickets, and I couldn't. I was like, what? I was like, I had so much fun. You were laughing, and everything was great, and you told me that you were gonna text me back, and nothing, just crickets. And then I remember there was a date one time I went out with this girl who I was actually really interested in, but just I made a lot of what I thought were mistakes. And by mistakes, I mean like, she would say something and I kind of disagree with her a little bit. I challenge her. I don't know, I was in a little bit of a testy mood. And I did a couple of little things kind of accidentally. And when I went home, I wasn't totally confident that was the best date I'd ever been on. But then weirdly, this girl couldn't stop texting me. She was like chasing me. And again, this was a very attractive girl. This girl I really liked. And it actually worked to my advantage. And that's when I kind of realized maybe being like the super perfect gentleman, nice guy who's just agreeing with everything she says and trying to make her have the best time ever and show her exactly who I am, maybe it's not the best strategy. Maybe it's better to kind of like play my cards a little bit closer to the chest. Maybe it's a little bit smarter to kind of not reveal everything about myself. Kind of make her guess a little bit. Put her through. Spoiler alert. Yeah, the scrambler.
You may or may not have heard of Rob or I talk about the scrambler. And to give you a little background on it, because if you've watched our videos, you know we've talked about it, and how it kind of formulated was a few years back, Rob and I had both, we kind of hit our breaking point, and we're like, something here, like we're both really good at teaching guys. A guy can come to us, they pay Rob obscene amounts of money to go out on the weekend with him, and he gets these guys talking to girls. He has students bringing girls home the same night, like girls way out of their like league, quote unquote. And yet the thing that his students struggled with, and things that I noticed was happening with my students as I got them better with flirting and conversation, was when they met that one girl they really wanted, shit just hit the fan. Like it just didn't work out. And what the two of us did is we sat there and we reverse engineered everything, starting at that point of, okay, we both know at this point that love comes when you're thinking about somebody when you're not around, right? So what can you do to get her thinking about you constantly when you're not around? Like, that's the end game. The end game is not, I'm going to show her how much I like her. It's, I'm going to do everything I can that leaves little breadcrumbs that when she's home lead back to me. Every thought leads back to me. And what we discovered was that there was a handful of weapons. And these weapons, when you they're like little time bombs that you plant when you're with her. Because now you're giving her things. It's just a strategy. And some people say, oh, that's, you're manipulating, or you're being too calculating. But my thing is that if you go and you say, I'm going to buy a girl flowers, you're calculating. You're thinking, I'm buying her flowers because I want a certain result. Problem is, when you buy a girl flowers, you're not going to ever get that result that you want. When you do the things that we teach in the video below and in the scrambler, you're doing the same thing. You're being just as calculated as buying her flowers or taking her out to a fancy dinner, except what you're doing actually gets you the results you want. When she's home, and when she's with her friends, and when she's at work, her mind is going to be like a magnet, and it's going to be continually drawn to you. So I suggest that you check out the video below, and we go into a little bit more detail. We talk about some of these weapons, the 4 horsemen of the chase. And that is the ultimate secret to getting a girl to fall in love with you. Write it down. If you can make a girl think about you when you're not around, you can make her fall in love with you. And then watch the video.